Okay, good morning. So today what we're going to be doing is we are going to be starting the first half of Chapter 7. I've got a URL coming up if you need it, if you're watching this later, but I did want to say I handed out something as you came in, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Haley and Brian are here in the classroom today moderating again. And then let's go through what's due this week. Okay, so standard Saturday we have an attendance quiz due covering class from the 21st and from the 23rd, Chapter 7 homework. Chapter 7 homework does take a fair amount of time, so don't shortchange it. Sunday, October 27th, there is no quiz. There's no quiz because next week is the exam. Next week the exam starts Monday at 8 a.m., goes through Wednesday, October 30th at 9 p.m. If you are in Section 7 or 8, again, you'll be taking your exam with ProctorU, and you need to schedule that exam at least 72 hours in advance. So do get that scheduled, and our next video quiz will be due Sunday, November 3rd over Chapter 8 in Blackboard. So it's a little bit different because we do have the exam next week. We do not have class again next week because of the exam. Okay, we have tutoring this week, and I will tell you, Haley's got 3 days of tutoring. There's 6 different time slots you can sign up for. Think about doing tutoring. Obviously, if you're in the 90 percentile, your overall grade in the 90s, you don't need to go. But we're looking for people who need extra help. So check your email for the sign-up links. I sent a couple. First of all, Haley has tutoring available on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week. To keep the sessions manageable, they're limited to 9 students. 9 or 10, and 1 session's full now. That is a first come, first serve. When you sign up for tutoring, you are committing to going. Do not skip. Once you sign up, you're committed. If there's something that comes up, I need an email so we can give that seat to someone else. Brian also has a tutoring session this week, and he's got room for just a couple more, so do check your email for those links. We will be doing tutoring each week, probably not next week. I don't know what we're doing next week, but we'll talk about that and we'll let you know. Okay, there is also, I emailed this out and I know a lot of people got it. We were talking about doing an exam review session. It's almost impossible to find a room, and then how many people do you get a room for? Because I figured this would be something that more than 9 people would want to do. So we decided to do an online exam review session. It's going to be me, Haley, and Brian, and the time that we came up with, that the 3 of us are all available, is this Thursday from 10 to 11. This session is completely optional. No one says you have to go to it. It will be in a different Collaborate classroom than a regular classroom, but it will be from 10 to 11. I sent out a sign-up link. If you sign up, I will send you the link and a reminder early that morning or the night before. And it's going to be in Collaborate. It's going to be the 3 of us, and usually it'll be mostly me talking, but they'll talk some too. We are not going to be in a room together anywhere. The 3 of us will be at 3 different locations, and so it'll just be using Collaborate with all of us online. That will be recorded. That will be available on YouTube later, so if you can't make it, don't feel like you've lost out. The advantage, of course, of going is you can ask questions if you have any. Okay, and I sent out an announcement about that also. And I'll get that recording up on YouTube within 24 hours usually. Okay, I did want to point out on the homework this week, these problems are on homework, and the things I've marked with red in video is, you've already seen the videos, but I just wanted to put it here to reinforce when you're doing those homework problems, they are in the videos that you would have watched for the video quiz last night. The other ones we're doing a couple of them in class, and one of them I'm recording, so I'll send out an announcement with that as well. Okay, the learning objectives in this chapter, there's a bunch of them. We're not doing the last 3. Okay, so just like the video lectures, we're not doing 6, 7, and 8. You're not responsible for those outside of anything we would mention in class, but we're not going to do those. Okay, the handout today. If you've been walking in the room, you saw the handouts on the chair. They are in back. If you didn't get one, they are in back as you come in the door. If you're online, you should be seeing the offer. It should be pushing out. If you're watching this later, or if you lose your handout, you could also grab the handout from the URL http://tiny.cc/ch7handout. And what I did today is the homework. We've got 2 homework problems we're going to actually be doing in class, and they're pretty involved. They take a lot of time. Chances are we'll do one today and one on Wednesday, or maybe both today. But what I wanted to do in this material, it lends itself to a lot of questions. And I want to do those questions because they are interesting. They do relate many times to the videos you would have watched last night. But I felt there was too much writing down. So what you've got on the handout are all the questions we're going to use today and Wednesday. Okay, so, and they're in order how we'll use them. So we are going to have a ton of questions today, but your hand won't fall off because you've got them all written down. Okay? Okay, also there is a review sheet for exam 2. The review, that optional online review we're doing, we are going to go over there. We're going to use the review sheet. I'm going to talk about the review sheet and things on the review sheet. I've posted this on Blackboard already, and the URL is on the screen there. Yes? Okay, the online review session is with myself and Brian and Haley, all 3 of us.
It's online from 10
Yeah.
to 11.
Yeah, it's online from 10 to 11.
It's only if you sign.
Well, I'm not going to exclude you, but if you don't sign up, you don't get the email reminder, and because I'm going to email you. But you can sign up anytime up until Wednesday night.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Good?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so in that online review session, we are going to walk through this review sheet and talk about what you need to know and what is most important and things like that. And again, that is recorded. I understand that not everyone has 10 a.m. on Thursday available, so we will record it and make it available to everyone. Okay, so with that, any questions before we get started? Okay, so I have lots of questions today. It is a heavy question day. So the point of all these questions is not simply to gather the right answers, but to understand why the answer is the way it is. Now, in very, very tiny writing in the lower right-hand corner of every slide that you have gives a slide number, okay? So, and it's basically 1 through 6 on the first page and 7 through 12 on the second, etc. Now, notice at the bottom of this slide that I've got, hopefully I did this right. Hopefully I didn't get off one or whatever. See how it says slide 1? This is question 1. We're going to go in order, but this will tell you so we're on the same question, because some of these questions tend to look alike. They just change a little bit. So this first question, the cost of land may include the cost of any back property taxes that the purchaser pays. True or false? I'm going to walk around here and see what I've got. You've got it right in front of you, so you should, I'm going to be looking at what you've marked. What do you think? True? Okay. What about you?
True.
True. You guys aren't marking this, are you just, no, you're waiting to do what's right? Yeah. Okay. What do you think?
I was going to say true.
You're going to say true? Okay. Do you have answers online?
Mostly true.
Mostly true? Okay. And that is indeed true. Okay. So when we make a purchase, land or a building, back property taxes that the purchaser pays has to be included in the cost of the land. Okay, still continuing on this idea of the cost of land. The cost of land includes the cost of fencing and paving. True or false? Good morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you? What do you think? False? Okay. False, she's nodding too. False? We have a bunch of falses. Do you have answers online?
You do.
24 false and 1 true. So 25 is true. Okay. And it is indeed, wait a second. This is wrong. Hold on. This is false. Right? I would say it was false. What?
True.
No. Here, we'll just make it. This should be how that is. Oh, yeah, perfect. Okay, so yeah. Okay. The cost of land includes the cost of fencing and paving. The reason, what?
Landed.
Yes, yes. Thank you for being my reality check here. The cost of fencing and paving, it's false because those are considered land improvements. Here's the big difference. Why do we care if it goes in land improvements or land? Land is the one item that never depreciates. And by depreciation, we mean the process of taking the cost of the land and spreading it over its useful life. Land is considered to never wear out. Land is going to be there an indefinite amount of time. So land is the one item that never has any depreciation. Now, if we're talking about iron ore in the land or other things that we take out of the land that can be depleted, that's a natural resource, and that's separate from the cost of the land. But when we're talking about the land itself, we consider it never to wear out. Paving and fencing, those wear out. Those have to be repaired. Those need to be replaced over time. They don't have an infinite life, so they have depreciation. So they go into a separate account called land improvements. Okay, this one, I just answered it. Land improvements are not subject to depreciation. True or false? False. Yes, you got it before it showed. Okay. Okay. So that one, land improvements do have depreciation, and that's why we keep track of land improvements separately. Okay, and one more on this land improvement idea. This one I'm just going to flip through. Costs of land improvement are included in the land account. We know that that's false because we just said they're included in land improvements. Okay, another question. Any cost to get machinery up and running and ready for intended use should be part of the cost of the asset and depreciated. True or false? What do you guys think? True? Okay. And that one is true. Okay, so we're getting our asset ready for use. It is part of the cost of the asset. So we pay an electrician to wire it. That's part of the cost of the asset, and it should be depreciated. Okay, Company A purchased a used piece of equipment. All of the following costs should be included in the cost of equipment except for A, insurance while in transit, B, sales tax paid, C, installation costs, D, maintenance costs after the equipment is up and running. What do you think? You don't know? C? Okay. So, what do you think? You're saying B or D, so I have a C and I have a B or D. D? Okay. D? Okay. B? Okay. What do you guys have down there? Mostly D? I love precision, like a lot. Okay. Okay, and the answer is indeed D. Okay, we don't include it as part of the cost of the equipment if it's just maintenance after we've got it up and running. This is changing the oil, putting new belts in it, lubrication, things like that. Okay, Company B purchased some land and is preparing the land for a new building. Company B should include which of the following in the cost of the land? Your convenience. So grading and clearing the land? Yeah, that would make sense because it's the only. Okay, what answers do you guys have? I have a D. A. Wow. Okay, so great. Okay, so it is grading and clearing the land. Okay. Oopsie. It's okay. I have done that, yes. Okay. Okay, grading and clearing the land is part of the cost of the land. The other things would be land improvements. And we are going to get to a homework problem eventually. I told you there was a lot of questions today. ABC Company purchased a land with an old building that it plans on demolishing so that it can construct a new modern building. The cost of demolishing the building will be part of the cost of A, the new building, B, the old building, C, land, or D, land improvements. A, okay. What do you think? C, A, A. What do you think? A, D, okay. A, C, A, C, okay. What do you guys have online? You show a pretty, I'm guessing you have a assortment? 10. 10 A's, 6 C's, and 8 D's. Okay, so we have demolishing the building is not part of the cost of the new building. It is part of land. Okay, think about this. So the unit says C, good answer. The reason that demolishing a building from land prepares that land for use. It's getting it back to its natural state, getting rid of the building. Now, once the part comes where you've got a backhoe there and you're starting to dig a new foundation, now that digging part becomes part of the new building, costs a new building. But when you're simply getting the land ready to use, demolishing what was already there, that's part of the cost of the land. The reason that this is important is land is never depreciated. So when you demolish something, you have to think in your mind, this is going to be part of the cost of my land. I'm not going to depreciate it. It'll go into my basis for later on. Okay, homework now. And this is a nice long homework problem too. Okay. What? I skipped a whole bunch. We have a whole bunch left.
That should be the next one.
No, the homework's not in the handout. You don't have all the slides. The only slides you have are the questions. Because of copyright, I can't put homework problems in handouts. This is a book. This is out of the book. This is okay? Okay, so short exercise 7-4. Okay, so what we have is they purchased a used aircraft at the cost of $44,400,000. They expect the plane to remain useful for 5 years or 6.5 million miles and to have a residual value of $5,400,000. They expect to fly the plane 725,000 miles the first year and then some other miles the other years. So we have to, first of all, compute their depreciation for the first 2 years on the plane using the following methods. So we have, and then we'll be in the second requirement, computing the airplane's book value at the end of the first year. So we have 3 methods of depreciation that we're going to be doing here. So this is why I picked this problem so that we could try all 3 methods. The 3 methods are very different. They're all acceptable. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do straight line depreciation. Now they asked us to do 2 years, so we'll have year 1 and year 2. Straight line depreciation is the most straightforward. It's the most common depreciation method used. What we do there is we take the cost of the airplane and subtract its residual value. Its residual value is also known as scrap value or salvage value, and it's what we expect to be able to sell the plane for at the end of its useful life. Okay, so that would be its depreciable cost. So what we're going to do is we take that cost of the plane, the $44,400,000, subtract the residual value, divide by 5 years. Okay, now we get $7,800,000 as the straight line depreciation. So straight line depreciation, it's the easiest method of all of them that we use, and if you're dealing with full years, all you have to do is take the cost, subtract the residual value, and divide by the useful life. And that depreciation is going to be the same every year. Okay, now that's the first year of depreciation. The problem asks for 2 years. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the first year of each of these and then we'll come on to the second year. So just make a note that when we talk about depreciable value, what that is it's the cost minus the residual value. Okay, units of production. The first thing with units of production, we say, okay, instead of this thing wearing out over 5 years, instead of our airplane wearing out over 5 years, we think it's going to wear out. We want to recognize per mile, because the more we drive the airplane, the more it depreciates in real life, so we want our accounting to reflect that. So units of production says, let's figure out our depreciation per mile. So what we'll do is we'll take that depreciable value, so the original cost less the residual value, and divide by the total number of miles in the aircraft's life. So that 6,500,000 was given about in the middle of the problem. It said that our plane will remain useful for 5 years, 6.5 million miles. Okay, so we take the depreciable value, depreciable cost, divide by the number of miles, and we get $6 per mile. So that's our depreciation per mile. We haven't answered the question yet. We're just getting ready to. So units of production says, let's figure out our depreciation per mile in this case. So then we're going to take the number of miles we flew in a given year and multiply by 6. So the first year, they flew the plane 725,000 miles. So we're going to take that $6 per mile times 725,000 miles, and we will get a total depreciation cost of $4,350,000. Depreciation expense. So what we're seeing over here, what we're calculating each year, this is all first year. So under straight line, we would take 7,800,000. Under units of production, we would take 4,350,000. And this is all just first year depreciation. We're just illustrating the differences between the methods. Okay, and then we get to the double declining balance method. Double declining balance method, we have to figure out a factor. The factor will always be 2 divided by the life, the years. So 2 divided, in this case, they told us 5 years, so this has a 40% factor. We know it's 2 because it's called the double declining balance method. So it's always 2 divided by life. The factor doesn't change year to year. How we use the factor does change year to year. So we have a 40% double declining balance factor. Okay, so now what we do with that 40% factor is we take the entire cost. So the first year depreciation, we take the entire cost of $44,400,000 times 40%. And that will be our depreciation the first year. So that would be $17,760,000. Okay, so what we have here is we have the first year depreciation for straight line, units of production, and double declining balance. The things we can observe about this is in the first year, double declining balance will produce more depreciation than straight line. Double declining balance is known as an accelerated depreciation method, meaning that you get more depreciation up front. The idea behind that is sometimes you think, well, assets depreciate more in real life up front, so the depreciation method should reflect that. Also, a company would like to have more depreciation up front, all other things being equal, because that means you would have, at least from a tax standpoint, you would have a greater deduction up front, so you get less tax, you'd have more cash up front. Units of production, you can't make any observation about that because it just varies due to usage. Okay, second year. So now we're on to second year. Straight line, it's easy. If it's a full year, it will be the same each year. Okay, so it's going to be exactly the same. We take the depreciable cost, the original cost, less the residual value, divide by 5 years, the life. Okay, so that's $7,800,000. For units of production, again, we're going to take basically $6 per mile times 1,225,000 miles. You can also, I've got the calculation there. We take the $44,400,000 minus the $5,400,000 divide by the life of 6,500,000 miles. That's where the $6 comes from. multiply that by the number of miles the second year. Okay, so we get 7,350,000. Okay, so that is units of production. Then we move on to double declining balance method. Double declining balance method. Now, what we do with this one is we take the original cost. Hold on. Yes. Which two numbers? No, just tell me the number. Which number up there are we asking?
Both of them. Like, the whole problem, actually.
The units of production, the 44, okay, let me get back here. The 44,400,000 is the original cost. So that hasn't changed from the first time we did it. The 5,400,000 is the residual value, okay? The 6,500,000 is the life in miles, just like we did it for the first year.
Okay.
Okay? See that, this right here?
Right.
So that $6 is exactly the same. See the purple line down below? And then the 1,225,000, that's how many miles they flew it the second year.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, double declining balance method. Now, this one's different each year. Double declining balance, first of all, notice that it doesn't use residual value. It's the only method that doesn't consider use residual value when calculating depreciation in the first few years. So, 44,400,000 is its original cost. We're going to subtract from that the depreciation from year one. So you need to subtract from it all the depreciation to date. So that 17,760,000 comes from double declining balance depreciation in year one. So what we're doing is we're taking its remaining balance times the 40%. So we get 10,656,000. Okay, and then we go to the airplane's book value at the end of the first year. So that's important to note that the book value at the end of the first year, emphasis on first, okay, that's the formula for book value. Okay, so original cost less accumulated depreciation is going to be our book value. Accumulated depreciation is a running total of all the depreciation to date. So we want to show this. It's asking us in part 2, end of first year, under each of the methods. It'll be different. So what I've got here is I've got all three methods, a column for each method. I've got the original cost, and I've got the accumulated depreciation. So I'm going to pause for a minute in case you want to write that down, and then we'll talk through it. Yes, we have a question. Accumulated depreciation? Okay. Okay, I'm going to come back to this in just a minute. Let me go backwards. This is the second year.
I know, but do we have
For this next part?
no for the first 1A? Is it the double of 7 million?
Oh no, you mean the, I don't know. You mean for entering in my accounting lab?
No. What I mean is, what is the answer? Because the first year and for the second year.
We have depreciation. We have depreciation for the first year we calculated. Okay, and we have depreciation for the second year.
But is
There's not one answer. This is actually asking for 6 answers because we had 2 years for each of the 3 methods.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. Okay. So the book value at the end of the first year is going to be, so now we're on to this. Okay, so this is at the end of the first year. So we're only taking into account year 1. So we have the original cost. Notice that doesn't change depending, it doesn't matter what method we're using the original cost is the same. The depreciation after 1 year, the accumulated depreciation is just that depreciation expense that 1 year. Okay, your book value is that original cost less the accumulated depreciation, and this is at the end of the first year. Okay, so that is the end of exercise 7-4. So we did depreciation using all three methods for the first 2 years, and then we calculated book value. Book value, do you want to emphasize, this is going to be a concept we're going to see a lot in this chapter. This whole idea of book value is the original cost less the accumulated depreciation. Now, accumulated depreciation is a running total of all the depreciation to date. And we're only using one method in real life. So in real life, a company would choose one method and stick with it. And they would use that method until they were done. So they pick one method and go with it for their books, so they don't keep changing. Companies can generally use straight line or double declining balance. Units of production can generally only be used when you have a clear measure of life. Like aircraft, you could say miles. If you had vehicles, you could say miles. If you have copy machines or printers, you can talk about number of copies. But if you have a building, you really don't have a measure of life other than time. You can't say, well, the number of people that walk through it. That doesn't make sense. So units of production has a fairly narrow application, but straight line or double declining balance can be used by many companies. Okay, so then we're going to go on here, leave that one. Okay, so we're back to our questions. This would be slide 9. Okay, there was a problem we walked through in the videos. Land, buildings, and equipment are acquired for a lump sum of $850,000. The market values of the three assets are $250,000, $480,000, and $180,000. What's the cost assigned to the equipment? So I'm going to pause and I'm going to walk around and get answers. So get your calculators out and work this out. Around for the answer here.
Fine.
Okay. Over your shoulder. Yeah, right. The same answer I got. So we're either both right or both wrong. Okay. What we're going to do here is we're going to go through the answer. I have part of the answer written down, so I'm going to type it here. The answer is B. Can you hold this so I can talk?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's it.
Just kidding.
Okay, so the first calculation, you've got to make a couple calculations here. And okay, so the first one is that total market value. They told us the $250,000 plus the $480,000 plus the $180,000, $910 are total market value. So then if I take the equipment market value, the $180,000, divide by the $910, I'm going to get 0.1978 or thereabouts. There's some rounding involved here. Okay, so then if I take the 0.1978 times the total purchase price of $850,000, that gets me to this $168,132. Okay. Yeah. So the answer is that 168,132. So you need to figure out, the total market value, take whatever percentage that item you're looking for is of the total market value, multiply that by the purchase price. So that's how you're getting the 168,132. Okay, I'll be over there in a minute. I took 180 divided by 910. Okay, so your question is why did I take the 180 and divide by 910? Okay, 180 is the market value of the equipment, right? It is. It's the market value, because it says respectively. So the land is 250, the building is 480, and the equipment's 180. Okay? Yeah. Okay, so we're done with that. Okay, so then let me go over here. Okay, but now you get it? Okay, the land is 250. Do you see that? When they use the word respectively, see that the market values for these three assets respectively? Respectively means it's in the same order as the preceding sentence. So the first number, the 250 is the land, the 480 is the building, and the 180 is, yeah, okay. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, so leaving that one, going on to the next one. Okay, lands purchased for $543,007. Back taxes paid by the purchaser were $8,500. Total cost to demolish an existing building and clear the land were $215, and costs of paving the parking lot were $106,000. What's the cost of the land? See? Okay. See? Okay. What do you guys have? Okay, so C is the answer. Well, I only have C's also. So. Okay, and the answer is C. The only thing that is not part of cost of land is paving the parking lot. That's a land improvement. So the other costs go into that. Okay, other homework problem. Okay, so this other homework problem is another depreciation problem. And we have another aircraft that we're looking at. So it said that we, September 30th, 2011, we bought the aircraft at a cost of 41 million euros, and they expect the plane to remain useful for 5 years or 5,200,000 miles and have a residual value of 5,200,000 euros. They'll fly the plane 390,000 miles during the remainder of 2011, and we're supposed to calculate the depreciation for the year of 2011. The thing that's different about this one than the last one we did, well, first of all, it's only asking for a year, but look very carefully here. This is not a full year. They purchased this aircraft on September 30th. They're talking about calculating the depreciation as of December 31st, 2011. Okay, so we're talking about depreciation for 3 months. We're talking about for October, November, and December. So that is the difference between this one and the prior one. So then it asks which one would have the highest net income, which one is the lowest net income. Okay, so starting with straight line. Straight line depreciation is our easiest one. Straight line is going to be the cost less the residual value divided by the life. So the cost is 41 million, residual value 5,200,000 divided by life. We did that last time, but now we need to adjust for a partial year. This is 3 months out of 12. We always go by months, or half year. I guess we could do a half year if it was exactly half a year. But we go by months, not by days. So we have to multiply this by 3 months out of 12 because we're looking at the depreciation for October, November, and December. So the straight line depreciation for 2011 would be 1,790,000 euros. Okay, so now units of production. Units of production. What we're going to be doing here, units of production, you have to calculate the depreciable cost per mile. So to do that, you take the original cost less the residual value divided by the number of the miles in its life. Okay, so we take that 41 million euros minus 5,200,000 euros divide by 5,200,000 miles. Okay, that gives us about $6.88 per mile. Now, I'm going to wait while you write this down, and then I'm going to talk because you can get two different answers here depending on your rounding. Okay, if in my calculator I put 41 million minus 5,200,000 divided by 5,200,000 miles and took that answer and multiplied by 390,000 miles, I would get 2,685,000. That would be my answer. That's if I put it, or if I put it in an Excel spreadsheet, I would get the 2,685,000. If, on the other hand, I took the 41 million minus the 5,200,000 divided by 5,200,000, I would get $6.88 per mile. That's rounded. It's actually $6.87 something. I don't know. It's several decimal places. If I rounded that to $6.88 and multiplied by the 390,000 miles, I'm going to get 2,683,200 just because of rounding differences. Either answer will work. It is, in terms of my accounting lab, either one, it's set up. It's either set up to accept either answer, or it tells you exactly which way to do it. So do watch. Rounding instructions are given on every problem in green. It'll tell you, but just that's a heads up that you can get those two different answers, and that's why. But they are close. So a company adopts one way to do it and then goes to one side. Okay, so that's units of production. Note that we do not need to make any adjustment because units of production means that we're just using the number of miles that we flew during the year. So when they told us they flew 390,000 miles during 2011, we don't take a portion of that because that's exactly the number of miles they flew. So units of production doesn't need to be adjusted for a partial year. Yes? I was reading your mind. Yeah, but that took care of it?
Yeah.
Okay. You had your hand up too? Oh, okay, okay. Okay. Okay, and then on to double declining balance method. Double declining balance method, you take the original cost times the factor. The factor is always going to be 2 divided by the number of years. So 2 divided by 5-year life times, and this one we do need to adjust for partial year. 3 months divided by 12 gives us 4,100,000. Okay, now the question says which, at the bottom, which method would produce the highest income for 2011? The highest net income is going to come from the method that produces the lowest depreciation. So the answer for which method is the highest net income is going to be straight line. And then which method produces the lowest net income? In this particular case, it's double declining balance. You cannot make any predictions about units of production because units of production is based on actual usage, so we can't make production. We can't make predictions based on units of production. But straight line, it's going to produce the highest net income in the first year. Double declining balance is going to produce the lowest net income in the first year when we're comparing straight line to double declining balance. Didn't we already have this one?
Yes.
Oh, I must have really liked it. So let's skip it. Oh, there's the calculation for it. Oops. Okay. Okay. Now, on January 2nd, 2011, so we can treat that as a full year. They acquired equipment for $260,000. Estimated life of the equipment is 5 years or 40,000 hours. Estimated residual value is $20,000. What's the balance of accumulated depreciation on December 31st, 2012 if they use the straight line method of depreciation? Now, something to note here. We bought it January 2nd, 2011. We're talking about the balance of accumulated depreciation December 31st, 2012. That's big. That means that's 2 years. That's 2011 and 2012. So go ahead. What you have to do on this problem is figure out your straight line depreciation. That's your first step. And I'm going to quit talking for a minute, give you a chance to work on it, and then we'll talk through this. A. But it is. What if you multiplied that by 2?
Okay.
You know, maybe for 2 years. Oh. So maybe not so confused. Okay. Mhm. Okay. So on this one, what we're going to be doing is we have to figure out the straight line depreciation. Straight line depreciation is the cost minus the salvage value or residual value divided by the useful life. So I saw that a lot. I saw the 48,000. Okay, so we're taking the 260,000 cost minus the residual value divided by 5 years, 48,000 depreciation expense per year. Now this is where it's key. What is the question asking? The question is not asking how much depreciation per year. If the question were saying how much depreciation a year do they take, the answer is 48,000. Okay? Now, but it's asking for 2 years. It's asking the balance of the accumulated depreciation account. The accumulated depreciation account is a running total of all our depreciation to date. So as of December 31st, 2012, we would have 2 years of depreciation. So we would take the 48,000 times the 2 years, and the answer is 96,000. So our answer here for this question is going to be, I'm going to flip to it, but I'm going to come back to that. Oops, I didn't. Okay, so it's 96,000. Okay, so that's an A, right?
Yes.
Okay, I guess I don't have the A here. Okay, okay, so now what? Okay, so we've come to the end of what we're doing today.